Before we dive into this eerie adventure, we want to remind you that the story you are about to watch is a work of fiction. Every character, city, and location you'll encounter in this video springs from the realm of imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to real-world locations is purely coincidental. So, grab your popcorn, dim the lights, and prepare for a journey into the supernatural. Happy watching, and remember, it's only a story.
In the year 1947, along the rugged and windswept Australian coast, I found my life's obsession. I am no writer by any means, but I feel compelled to document this strange journey I embarked upon, a journey that has left an indelible mark on my soul. I was never one for the supernatural. Ghost stories and tales of haunted houses always seemed like fanciful distractions from the real terrors of the world. Instead, what truly fascinated me were the mysteries that lurk in the shadows of human understanding, the kind that lead you down rabbit holes of codes and secrets. Little did I know that my fascination would soon turn into a haunting obsession. It all started with a letter, unmarked and left at my doorstep. It was brief, containing only an enigmatic set of coordinates and a cryptic note. The truth lies buried in the sands. Initially, I dismissed it as a prank, but something about the precision of the coordinates piqued my interest. I couldn't resist the lure of a mystery. Perhaps it was my inherent nature as an investigator, or maybe it was just boredom. Either way, I set out to uncover what I thought would be a simple puzzle. As I drove towards the location, I reminisced about my childhood. The coast had always been a place of wonder for me, a place where the vast ocean met the land in a never-ending dance. But as I approached the given coordinates, the familiar landscape took on a more ominous tone. The sea roared louder, and the wind howled like a chorus of lost souls. The beauty of the coast was still there, but it was overshadowed by a sense of foreboding. I reached the spot just as the sun began its descent, casting a golden hue over the sandy beach. It was desolate, save for the waves that crashed relentlessly against the shore. And there, partially buried in the sand, was what I had come to find. At first glance, it appeared to be a piece of driftwood, but as I drew closer, I realized it was something far more macabre, a human body, its skin pale and bloated from exposure to the elements. What was most striking, however, were the markings on the body. They were not the random scars of a tragic drowning, they were deliberate, intricate, like a cipher waiting to be decoded. And so, with a mixture of horror and fascination, I began my descent into a world of dark secrets and hidden truths, a descent that would consume me for years to come. As I stand now, looking back at the beginning of this strange journey, I am filled with a sense of unease. For I have come to realize that some mysteries are better left unsolved, some secrets too dark to unearth. But the human mind is a curious thing, always seeking, always yearning for answers. And so, I continue to seek, even though I fear what I might find. The next morning, I returned to the scene with a determination to unravel the mystery. The body was exactly where I had left it, untouched by anyone else. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was meant to find it, that it was a puzzle designed for me. I began by examining the body more closely. The markings were unlike anything I had seen before. They were symbols, cryptic and ancient, almost runic in nature. I took meticulous notes, sketching each symbol in my notebook. As I worked, the tide began to creep in, urging me to hurry. It felt as if the sea itself was aware of the body and wanted to reclaim its secret. After documenting the symbols, I searched the surrounding area for any other clues. There was nothing but the vast, empty beach and the relentless sea. The isolation of the location struck me. It was a perfect place to hide something or someone away from prying eyes. With no witnesses and no immediate clues, I decided to delve into the symbols. I spent days poring over books and consulting with experts in cryptography and ancient languages. The symbols were a cipher, a complex one that seemed to intertwine several historical coding methods. It was as if the creator of this cipher wanted to challenge the solver, to push them to their intellectual limits. As I delved deeper into the decoding process, I began to notice patterns. The symbols referenced specific historical events and places, but they were all connected to the Australian coast. It was as if the cipher was telling a story, one that was deeply rooted in the local history. However, the more I decoded, the more I realized that this was not just a story. It was a confession, a series of confessions, each more disturbing than the last. The cipher spoke of deeds done in the shadows, of people who had disappeared without a trace, of secrets buried deep beneath the sands. And then came the most chilling revelation of all. Among the confessions was a reference to a name I knew too well, a name that belonged to someone from my past. It was a name I had not heard in years, a name that brought back memories I had tried hard to forget. The discovery shook me to my core. It was no longer just a mystery to solve, it was personal. I had to know more to uncover the truth behind these confessions. But with each step I took towards the truth, I felt a growing sense of dread. It was as if I was walking a tightrope and beneath me lay a darkness that threatened to consume me. As I continued my investigation, I found myself looking over my shoulder, feeling eyes on me when there were none. The solitude of the coast, once a source of comfort, now felt oppressive, as if it hid secrets in every shadow. But I couldn't stop. The Cipher had become my obsession, and I was determined to follow it to the end, no matter where it led. Little did I know, the path I had chosen would take me into the heart of a darkness deeper than I could have ever imagined. My investigation took a turn as I delved deeper into the Cipher's confessions and the shadows of my own past. I realized that the answers I sought were entangled in a web of local history and personal connections, many of which were uncomfortably close to home. The name mentioned in the Cipher belonged to a man I once knew, someone who had been a part of my life during a tumultuous period. His involvement suggested a link to events I had long tried to forget, events that now resurfaced with a vengeance. I couldn't help but wonder if this was merely a coincidence, or if fate had drawn me back to confront my past. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, I started to investigate the local figures and events mentioned in the Cipher. My inquiries led me to dusty archives, old newspaper clippings, and whispered conversations with locals who remembered the old days. Each piece of information seemed to add another layer to the mystery, revealing a history of the coast that was steeped in secrets and silent agreements. The more I learned, the clearer it became that this wasn't just about a single unexplained death. The Cipher hinted at a network of people connected through hidden deeds and silent understandings. Some of these people were still influential in the community, which made my investigation not only difficult but also dangerous. I began to feel the weight of prying eyes and unsaid warnings. Strange occurrences, like finding my research materials disturbed or receiving anonymous calls with nothing but silence on the other end, became frequent. It was as if someone was trying to dissuade me from digging deeper. Despite these warnings, or perhaps because of them, my resolve only strengthened. I became more discreet with my investigations, taking care not to arouse suspicion. I realized that I was dealing with something much larger and more sinister than I had initially thought. As I pieced together the puzzle, the cryptic clues of the Cipher started to form a clearer picture. It pointed to a series of events that had been carefully hidden from public knowledge, events that were connected by a thread of greed, power, and deceit. The involvement of my acquaintance from the past was like a personal betrayal, adding a layer of emotional complexity to my quest for the truth. But the more I uncovered, the more elusive the complete truth seemed to become. It was as if for every question answered, two more arose. The realization that I might never fully understand the extent of the web I had uncovered was both frustrating and frightening. I knew I was close to something significant, something that could shake the foundations of the small coastal community. But with each step closer to the truth, the danger seemed to increase. The once peaceful coast now felt like a labyrinth of shadows, with danger lurking around every corner. As I delved deeper into the web of secrets, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that every move I made was being monitored by unseen eyes. The sense of paranoia was almost suffocating, but I couldn't stop. I was too far in, and the truth, however elusive, was too important to abandon. As the investigation progressed, my life began to revolve entirely around the Cipher and its secrets. The once clear boundary between my personal life and my quest for the truth blurred, with the latter consuming every waking moment. My obsession grew, eclipsing everything else. I spent my days and nights in a relentless pursuit of the truth, my mind constantly turning over the clues and connections I had uncovered. The Cipher was no longer just a series of symbols, it had become a living, breathing entity that haunted my thoughts. The deeper I delved into its mysteries, the more I felt it changing me. My relationship suffered as a result. Friends and family, who were initially supportive, began to express concern over my single-minded focus. I found myself withdrawing from them, not out of malice, but because I couldn't bear to be distracted from my investigation. I felt that I was the only one who could uncover the truth, and I couldn't afford to be sidetracked. The clues became increasingly cryptic and disturbing. I uncovered references to long-forgotten tragedies at sea, mysterious disappearances, and hidden crimes that were never solved. Each revelation was like a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, but the complete picture remained elusive. The threats became more overt as well. Unmarked letters warning me to stop my investigation started appearing. I would come home to find my belongings subtly rearranged, a clear message that someone had been inside my house. These intimidations only served to strengthen my resolve, but they also heightened my sense of paranoia. I was no longer sure whom I could trust. It seemed like everyone in the community had something to hide or a reason to want me to stop digging. I began to see conspiracies in every corner, suspecting even the most innocent of connections. This constant state of vigilance was exhausting, but I couldn't let my guard down. The stakes were too high. Amidst this chaos, I experienced a breakthrough. A small, seemingly insignificant clue led me to a hidden trove of documents that had been buried for decades. These documents shed new light on the Cipher, revealing a network of corruption and deceit that extended far beyond the local community. It implicated powerful figures, some of whom were still influential in the current day. But with this revelation came a new level of danger. I was no longer just an annoyance to be warned off, I was a threat that needed to be silenced. My every move seemed to be tracked, and the sense of being constantly watched intensified. I knew I was close to uncovering something monumental, but I also knew that I was walking a tightrope over an abyss. The obsession that had started as a quest for the truth had become a fight for survival. I was determined to bring the secrets hidden by the Cipher to light, but at what cost? The lines between right and wrong, truth and paranoia, began to blur. I found myself questioning not only the motives of those around me but also my own. As the pieces of the puzzle slowly came together, the full horror of what I was uncovering became apparent. It wasn't just a matter of solving a mystery anymore, it was about exposing a web of lies that had ensnared innocent lives for decades. But the closer I got to the truth, the more I realized that some secrets have a way of protecting themselves, often at a great cost. The final phase of my investigation was the most harrowing. I was no longer just an investigator, I felt like a hunter, closing in on a dangerous prey that was equally intent on hunting me. The web of secrets I had been untangling was now a noose, tightening around me with each new revelation. The breakthrough with the hidden documents had set off a chain reaction. As I pieced together the information, the full scope of the conspiracy began to emerge. It was a tangled history of power, greed, and betrayal, implicating individuals in the highest echelons of the community. The Cipher had been a map, leading me to the heart of a darkness that had festered in silence for decades. I knew I had to act fast. The risk of being silenced grew with every passing day. I compiled my evidence, intending to bring it to the authorities. But who could I trust? The corruption seemed to reach far and wide, and I feared that going to the wrong person could be a fatal mistake. In a moment of desperate courage, I decided to confront the key figure implicated in the documents, a prominent local figure whose public persona was beyond reproach. I arranged a clandestine meeting, hoping to catch them off guard and extract some semblance of truth. The confrontation was nothing like I had anticipated. Instead of the confession or denial I had expected, I was met with a chilling indifference. The person in front of me was a mask of civility over a soul that had long been corrupted. They neither confirmed nor denied the accusations, instead offering veiled threats disguised as advice. The message was clear. Drop the investigation or suffer the consequences. I left the meeting with a sense of despair. The web of secrets was more extensive and more deeply entrenched than I had feared. It was not just a matter of exposing a few corrupt individuals, it was a systemic rot that had poisoned the community from within. In the following days, my situation grew increasingly precarious. I felt eyes on me everywhere I went. My home no longer felt safe. I was isolated, both emotionally and physically, as I grappled with the magnitude of what I had uncovered. The climax came unexpectedly. One evening, as I pored over my notes for what felt like the 1000th time, I heard a noise outside my house. I peered out to see shadowy figures lurking near my property. Panic set in, and I realized that my pursuit of the truth had finally caught up with me. I gathered my most critical evidence and fled into the night. I drove aimlessly, trying to put as much distance between myself and the danger as possible. But where could I go? The conspiracy was too big, too powerful. I was just one person against an unseen enemy that could reach anywhere. The night ended with me hiding in a remote cabin, miles away from civilization. As dawn broke, I sat there, exhausted and defeated, realizing the futility of my quest. The truth I had sought was too heavy, too dangerous. I could expose it, but at what cost? My own life. The lives of others. In the end, I made a decision that haunts me to this day. I buried the evidence, figuratively and literally, in a place where I hoped it would never be found. The truth, as I had discovered, was a double-edged sword, capable of protecting as much as it could harm. I returned to my old life, but I was a changed person. The shadows of what I had uncovered followed me everywhere. I was haunted by the secrets I knew and the knowledge of the corruption that continued unabated. The cipher from the shore had led me to a truth too dark to be revealed, a web of secrets too intricate to be unraveled. As I write this, I wonder about the path not taken. What if I had been braver, more relentless? But then I remembered the cold indifference in the eyes of those who held the power, and I know that some battles are impossible to win. The story of the cipher from the shore remains incomplete, a haunting testament to the mysteries that lie hidden in the shadows of our world. It is a reminder that some secrets are buried so deep that they are meant to stay hidden, forever lurking beneath the surface, unseen but ever present. Years have passed since the events of the cipher, and my life has returned to a semblance of normalcy. Yet, the shadows of that investigation continue to linger around me, like ghosts of a past I can never truly escape. I often find myself walking along the same rugged coastline where it all began, staring out at the endless expanse of the ocean. The waves continue to crash against the shore, indifferent to the secrets they keep. In these moments of solitude, I am reminded of the weight of the knowledge I carry. The truth about the cipher and the web of secrets it revealed remains buried, just like the evidence I hid away. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I am seized by the urge to unearth it all, to bring the truth to light. But then I remember the cost, the danger that such a revelation would bring. It's not just my safety at stake, but the safety of others as well. I live with the guilt of my decision every day. The faces of those who were unknowingly involved haunt me. They deserve justice, a chance for their stories to be heard. But the world I uncovered was one where justice was a rare commodity, overshadowed by the power and influence of those who preferred to operate in darkness. The investigation changed me in ways I am still trying to understand. It made me question the very nature of truth and whether some mysteries are better left unsolved. The pursuit of truth is noble, but I learned that it can also be a path lined with peril and heartache. Sometimes, I meet people who have heard fragments of the story, turned into local lore over time. They ask me about it, curious about the legend of the cipher from the shore. I always deflect, offering vague responses. How can I explain that the legend they speak of is a reality far more complex and disturbing than they could imagine? I've tried to move on, to focus on the present and the future. But there are moments when the past creeps in, when I feel the pull of the unsolved mysteries that I left behind. In those moments, I am reminded of the obsessed investigator I once was, driven by a desire to uncover what was hidden. The cipher from the shore remains my greatest challenge and my deepest regret. It is a chapter of my life that I have closed, but one that refuses to be forgotten. It is a reminder that some stories have no neat endings, no resolutions that can tie up all the loose ends. As I write these final words, I do so with a sense of resignation. I have accepted that the full story of the cipher will likely never be told, its secrets forever intertwined with the sands and the sea. It will remain, as it always has been, a shadow on the coast, a whisper in the wind, a mystery that continues to haunt me to this very day.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. We highly recommend you watch the next video here. Oops. I'm waiting for you to click. Yes, you've clicked. Happy watching.